Alrighty, so Tucker Carlson came out with another banger, ladies and gentlemen. Another in-depth look at something also controversial that no one is really talking about. They're trying to cover it up once again, and that is Thomas Crooks, the man they suspected was the assassin in Butler, Pennsylvania, that tried to take down the future president-elect Donald Trump. And they've been trying to cover this up, even with Trump being president now. They're continuously covering it up, which is very suspicious to me. Like, why, this was an assassination attempt on your life, and you're not conflicted into trying to reveal that information, investigating. You're not curious on who this guy is, how this, 20-year-old Terp was able to get onto the roof unsuspectedly by the Secret Service. Secret Service clearly saw something in the distance. They had every opportunity to stop this guy, but they still didn't do it. Like, what? There's so many questions to this. Just like Charlie Kirk assassination, just like it's going to be one of these things that you're not allowed to talk about because there's so much controversy and there's so much behind the scenes that you're not being told, that you're not being acknowledged to. And that's where Tucker Carlson, this is from his website here, broke down in this documentary who is Thomas Crooks. And it's very, very interesting. It's very compelling. And I recommend people go check it out for themselves. It's on YouTube for people to check it out. And there's a lot of interesting details about this. And I can't show you the full thing, but here's a bit of takes to this. This guy, Chicago One Ray, says Secret Service has some explaining to do. Thomas Crooks flew his drone over the site for 11 minutes. Just so happens the SS anti-drone system was down at the same moment. So one of the things that Tucker Carlson pointed out was Thomas Crooks took a drone and did an aerial surveillance footage to see where the best spot could be to do an assassination attempt on the president. And at the same time, Secret Service, they have this guidance system that's supposed to stop drones from flying over, unsuspected drones from flying over in that area. And at the same time, that system immediately went down at the time that Thomas Crooks just magically was able to fly a drone and scope out the Butler Fairgrounds where the president was. And the building he climbed up on was only that didn't have surveillance. Do you think this is an inside job? So here's a bit of what Tucker Carlson said in the documentary. And believe me, it is very fascinating, the breakdown of this. And it leaves you with a better understanding of not only just how covered up this is, how much more details that they're not revealing, but also explains why this potentially is a cover-up. So take a listen.
Is that on the day of the attacks, Thomas Crooks got extremely lucky, miraculously lucky. After he arrived at the Butler County Fairgrounds on the morning of the shooting, Thomas Crooks conducted surveillance by flying his drone over the rally site. He flew that drone for 11 minutes. It just so happened the Secret Service's anti-drone system were down at exactly the same moment. What are the odds? Later that afternoon, police officers saw Crooks loitering with a backpack and a rangefinder. They identified him as a suspicious person, which he clearly was.
So the drone system miraculously went down at the time that Thomas Crooks was flying a drone for 11 minutes to scope out the area. According to text messages, this chain with the Secret Service, they spotted a strange individual with a scope and rifle that they could have easily detained. They did not do that. And we know from the Butler, Pennsylvania incident that Secret Service, who was on the roof adjacent to the building, found Thomas Crooks on that building with their viewfinder, with their scope, and stood there for almost 22 seconds and did not fire, did not do anything to apprehend the suspect. So there, again, a lot of explanation needs to be done on Secret Service. The one Secret Service head of Secret Service who is no longer part of the organization. She covered up and lied for herself. She's lying for the organization, and there's a lot of details that needs to be explained, and maybe possibly that Trump was in on it. Because how else do you explain the failures that Secret Service did to apprehend this 20-something-year-old suspect that was able to fly a drone at the same time miraculously the drone surveillance technology failed and was able to have the drone fly around for 11 minutes, climb a building while Secret Service knows that this perpetrator is climbing a building with a scope and rifle and didn't do anything about it. Just like how the University of Utah, Utah Valley University, was able to watch the suspect, Tyler Robinson, to climb one of their buildings on secret surveillance footage and not do anything to apprehend that guy. Like, how does that make sense? How does that make sense? If it's not an inside job.
But quickly lost track of him. And so Crooks climbed to the top of the American Glass Research Building. That happened to be the only building in the area that did not have a video surveillance system. It was also, remarkably, inexplicably, outside the Secret Service's security perimeter, despite the fact it was very close to the stage. 2 local police officers assigned to the building saw Crooks, but they didn't report him. A 3rd officer who was supposed to be there left early. At 6.
So he purposely went to this building outside the surveillance of Secret Service. There was 2 law enforcement officers who were monitoring that building, and they didn't do anything. They saw Thomas Crooks climbing the building with a weapon, and they didn't do anything. They didn't call in Secret Service. They didn't call any backup. They didn't apprehend the suspect. They didn't do anything for this 20-something-year-old to climb a building with a weapon aimed directly at the future president-elect. That doesn't shock people. That doesn't make you go berserk. And the fact that Donald Trump is now president is even trying to cover this up. That doesn't make you go stir crazy. That why the president of the United States, who almost got shot by a split second, he didn't look at the screen on the side there, he would have been killed. He would have been killed. And you're telling me that guy who's now president doesn't even want to look into this? So obviously this is absolutely crazy. That Tucker Carlson, who we're supposed to believe is, hateful and bigoted and anti-Semitic and worse than Adolf Hitler. You listen to people like Mark Levin, who's just a whiny brat who's on Fox News that doesn't get any ratings, but proclaims that Tucker Carlson is the most evil, nefarious person in the United States. It's because Tucker Carlson is actually doing the work of people like Mark Levin, who claim to be a journalist, who claim to be a voice for America, but they don't do anything. Mark Levin doesn't do squat for America. Tucker Carlson does. Candace Owens does, investigating the Charlie Kirk assassination. But all the haters that go against them, they are too either chicken, or they don't want to know the truth, or maybe they're paid to be shills to hide the truth from the regular public, which goes to show you how just dumbfounded a lot of these people, that they're angered at Tucker Carlson and Candace Owens for no reason other than they're being told to. They're being lied to. They're being psyopted into hating people like Tucker Carlson because of a documentary that he breaks down in detail about the suspect that almost took down Trump. You would think Trump supporters, you would think the people that rallied for Trump and witnessed that carnage would be supportive of Tucker Carlson. But no, quite the opposite. Here's Newsweek. Newsweek even going after Tucker Carlson, saying this is the FBI responding to Tucker Carlson's reports on the Trump shooter, Thomas Crooks. The FBI has rejected conservative commentator Tucker Carlson's assertion that the agency lied about some of the facts surrounding President Donald Trump's would-be shooter, Thomas Crooks, specifically about the nature of his online presence. Carlson claimed the FBI had lied when it said that Crooks had no online footprint, promising on Thursday that he would reveal in his investigation posts Crooks had made online. The FBI Rapid Response account on X insisted the FBI has never said Crooks had no online footprint, ever. No, you told people that. You told people that at the start. That there's no online presence, that we can't fact check it, because everybody who knew about Thomas Crooks was telling the FBI to trace back his digital footprint. Go to his social media accounts, go to his YouTube, go to his X account, go to Discord, go to whatever case he was, to see, what made him want to climb the roof of a building to shoot down the president at a fairgrounds. Just like how the FBI lied to you about the Parkland shooter. Remember the Parkland shooter that everybody was telling the FBI this guy was dangerous? I think his name was Nick Cruz or something like that. Something in that degree. People were telling the FBI this guy would be a possible shooter. And the FBI did nothing. They sat on their hands and let it happen. So that was a big lie that the FBI told right to your face. And Tucker Carlson is pointing that out. Information about Crooks and the near assassination of Trump during the 2024 U.S. presidential election remains scarce well over a year after the attempt. Why is that? Why is that? Why is the attempted assassination of the president that happened twice? Why is it such big cover-ups, considering the fact that the guy is now president? Why is that still a cover-up to this day? Why are we not allowed to know about this 20-something-year-old climbing the building and trying to take down the president? Why is that not in the interest of Americans? Why are we not allowed to know these things? Oh, because Americans can't handle the truth? Or is it because you don't want to reveal the truth to Americans? Crooks was killed in Butler, Pennsylvania on July 13th, 2024, after shooting at Trump 8 times with an AR-15 style rifle from the rooftop of a nearby building. Crooks killed one audience member and injured 2 others while only seeming to gaze Trump's ear. A member of the U.S. Secret Service counter-sniper team returned fire and killed Crooks just seconds later. So again, just like we told you, the Secret Service was on the building right across from where Thomas Crooks was. They saw him in the viewfinder, in the scope. They had him on his trail, and yet they waited till after Crooks fired those rounds. Why would the Secret Service do that? Why would the Secret Service that's designated to protect the president-elect, that was president in 2016, why would they leave it till after the shots are fired? It makes absolutely no sense. The attack revealed worrying security lapses and led to the resignation of Secret Service Director Kimberly Cheadle, and an independent panel investigating the assassination attempt said the agency needed fundamental reform. Carlson on Friday uploaded a video onto X at 8 a.m. Eastern, which included video footage that he claimed the FBI has worked hard to make sure you haven't seen, purportedly from Crooks' Google Drive. The first clip appeared to show Crooks dry frying a gun in a room with paper targets taped to his wall in 2024. The roughly 35-minute video is alleged to verify Crooks' digital footprint, including YouTube comments and various other accounts that may belong to the would-be assassin. Carlson claimed in this video that the FBI has gone to lengths to hide the evidence of Crooks' account and online activity. Carlson relied on a source that used Crooks' phone number to find his Gmail account and 2 subsequent emails that may have belonged to Crooks, along with the accounts on Snapchat, Venmo, PayPal, Zelia, Discord, Google Play, Quiztel, Chess.com, and Quora, the last of which have been deactivated. Carlson alleged that the accounts painted a picture of a robust online presence, which he said went against a previous FBI comment that Crooks had little online presence. Carlson said he had reached out to the FBI, which asked if he could verify the accounts, a response Carlson has said confused him since the authenticity is self-evident. However, the FBI has seemingly drawn a distinctive distinction between the agency and its existence under President Joe Biden and under the second Trump administration. The account that replied to Carlson, FBI Rapid Response, was made in November 2025, which its first post on November 13th. So, the account that responded to Tucker Carlson about verifying these accounts as a journalist, they only made this rapid response account just recently that they tried to shut him down. And then they're using the excuse of, well, between the Biden administration, the Trump administration, we can't reveal this information. You again, realize that Trump is president right now. Trump, who almost got killed in Butler, Pennsylvania, and his own golf course twice assassination attempts, and yet they still want to cover this up. Why is that the case? Why is Tucker Carlson the only one allowed to ask these questions, allowed to do this video coverage that the FBI immediately has to dismiss by creating a recent social media account to try to defame Tucker Carlson? Why would they do all this? Why? The account only has 22,500 followers, which includes FBI Director Kash Patel and some prominent journalists such as CBS News senior White House reporter Jennifer Jacobs, indicated the account may be new, but it's authentic. Yeah, it's brand new as of November 13th, a couple days ago, but it's authentic. Who said that? The CBS News anchor and Kash Patel, the serial liar that's also part of this cover-up. Of course, authentic. Some users posted a screenshot with a community note that appeared to try and correct the FBI's account response, and what they seem had been removed by the note, if it had been posted and removed, used as a statement by the former FBI director Paul Abate in July 2024, which would not actually contradict the statement made by Rapid Response account that this FBI, i.e. the FBI under Patel, had never made such statements. So this is the interaction here of what happened on social media. So Tucker Carlson wrote, the FBI told us Thomas Crooks tried to kill Donald Trump last summer, but somehow had no online footprint. The FBI lied, and we could prove it because we have his post. The question is why? Story tomorrow. So that's what Tucker Carlson posted. And then this newly created FBI Rapid Response immediately responded to him saying this FBI has never said Thomas Crooks had no online footprint. Oh, no. It's not us that did it. It's the previous administration. So we're not going to hold the previous administration accountable. We're just going to completely dismiss the case because it happened beforehand. It's like when Barack Obama was asked if you're going to put legal pressure on the Bush administration for lying us into a war. Oh, no. Those crimes happened in the past. We got to look for the future. We can't prosecute crimes from previous administrations. We can't prosecute crimes from the past. Come on. We got to look to the future. We got to look to the future as I create 2 wars into 7. Look to the future. So that's what the FBI is trying to cover up this case and trying to dupe Tucker Carlson in the most obscene, obvious way possible. Here's another clip of Tucker Carlson's here. It says the day Thomas Crooks' body was burned. So just keep that in mind. Thomas Crooks' body, after they shot him down, was immediately cremated. So they couldn't do a DNA sample. They couldn't do an investigation. They couldn't prove that Thomas Crooks was even on the roof because they immediately cremated the body. But it was also the day the House Homeland Security and Oversight Committee started their investigation. Highly suspect and obstruction of justice. So the suspect that they allowed to take shots at the president and the people in the crowds, they gunned him down eventually. They took his body and they immediately gave him a cremation. So they couldn't do a DNA sample. That is very suspicious. That is very, very suspicious. And again, even Trump's own administration doesn't even want to talk about this, which is even more crazy. It's more conspiratorial that the Trump administration doesn't want to get into the investigation of what possibly could have killed Trump in Butler, Pennsylvania. But here's Tucker Carlson.
The day Crooks's body was burned was also the day the House Homeland Security and Oversight Committees had begun their investigations into the shooting. The fact the body was cremated made it impossible for investigators outside the FBI to verify the coroner and autopsy report. You can't do a new tox screen because the body doesn't exist. According to Higgins, quote, this...
So that's possibly why they did this. They immediately burned the body, so they can't do an autopsy. They can't do a toxology report. They can't verify the DNA of the person they shot down the roof and Thomas Crooks. So they have no lead. They have no lead to this investigation because they contaminated a crime scene. Just like how Charlie Kirk, they immediately paved over where Charlie Kirk got assassinated. And they took down the SD cards. They botched an investigation. They botched a crime scene, which is illegal. Illegal on all fronts. So, what's happening here is the Secret Service, Homeland Security, and the people involved in this, they're all conspiring. They're all conspiring to cover up the assassination attempt and leave Americans once again in the dark. Even though we witnessed it on live television, just like the Charlie Kirk assassination, just like JFK, just like everything, we've been told that we got to shut up. We got to go, just mind your own business. Don't talk about it. They're, again, with Epstein, you know, we know this is a thing. We know this is real. We know that the Epstein sex trafficking cults are still happening, that there's still victims out there, but we're told to shut up. We're told to shut up. Don't talk about it. Don't investigate. Don't do your own research. Don't even mention anything about it. Even with, same with COVID. All these things. You're being constantly lied to. Constantly lied to. And you're not allowed to investigate. You're not allowed to do your own research. You're not allowed to question. You're just got to go with the flow. Trust the government. Trust the science. Trust this. Even though they are purposely manipulating at you. They're purposely lying to you. They're purposely thinking that you are so stupid that you're not coming to your own conclusions on how suspected and suspicious this is. That some 20-year-old was able to climb the building of a fairgrounds that's surrounded by Secret Service at the time that Trump was speaking and allowed to fire 8 shots randomly to the president without Secret Service dealing with it. You don't think, again, that's suspicious. So let's see more of this.
Action by the FBI can only be described by any reasonable man as an obstruction to any following investigative effort. Another notable detail is that photos from the day after the shooting show an FBI agent hosing down the site where Crooks died. High-level intelligence officials...
So there they are, hosing down the crime scene. Again, that's illegal on all fronts. You're contaminating a crime scene. They're still investigating. They're still doing... They're still collecting samples, which they can't do now because they immediately burned the body. They cremated the body, so you can't match the toxology reports. And they're hosing down the roof. So this indeed is a cover-up. This indeed is a mysterious cover-up that the deep state is definitely involved in. That the FBI, the Secret Service, CIA, maybe even Trump himself, because Trump doesn't seem to be interested in it. For God's sakes, it was involving his own life. You know, if he didn't turn the other direction, who knows what could have happened to him. And he's not even curious about it. I just find it so insane. I find it so sus, as the kids would say.
Congressional sources told us this is very strange, and that the FBI usually hires out crime scene cleanup to third-party contractors. But in this case, they did it themselves, leaving no blood and no tissue for anyone else to analyze. In the photo, the agent's shirt says he's from the Technical Hazards Response Unit, a unit that collects traditional forensic evidence contaminated with hazardous materials. After the shooting, the FBI sent Crooks' phone to the Bureau's laboratory at Quantico, Virginia. Agents there were able to open it in less than 40 minutes using technology from an Israeli tech firm called Celebrate. According to the Post, FBI officials who served under President Joe Biden accessed Crooks' phone, computer, and his encrypted messaging apps in Belgium, New Zealand, and Germany.
Wow. So, kudos on Tucker Carlson for actually being one of the very few people that still have integrity to actually ask big questions. Because I know that the haters out there, again, are either too chicken to do their own research or they're paid not to, or whatever the case may be. But again, no matter how you feel about Tucker Carlson, I give credit where credit's due because they actually do the work. You know, Tucker Carlson's actually willing to investigate who this guy is, who Thomas Crooks is, and give credit to that. Because no one else is asking questions. No one cares about the fact that some 20-year-old was able to hijack a building and climb up there suspectedly by, even law enforcement and the Secret Service knowing about it and take assassination attempt on the president, just like Charlie Kirk, just like the second Trump assassin who was a Ukrainian asset. And nobody's, concerned about that. Nobody's, conflicted about that. No, we're just supposed to let it be. Some 20-year-old, some lonesome 20-year-old was able to hijack a building and try to take down the president. We're just supposed to believe that. Just supposed to believe that everyone's a Lee Harvey Oswald out there. And not go to further investigation or details. We're not allowed to ask questions. Questions are meaningless. Just shut up, go along, and, blame a lefty lunatic if you can. Which I say that jokingly, but that's actually what they're doing here. According to Caitlin Archer, says WTF, Thomas Matthew Crooks supposedly had a furry and trans fetish just like Tyler Robinson. Wow. Talk about timing of this. Oh, now we miraculously found out that Thomas Crooks, who apparently had no online presence, according to the FBI, and Tucker Carlson's lying about it, but supposedly they know he has a furry and trans fetish. That's exactly the same setup as the suspect to Charlie Kirk's assassination. Go figure. Go figure. Could it be that they're trying to manufacture a narrative that all these lefty lunatics, these transgender ideologues and fans of the trans and furries, they're all lined with jihadists to take all this down? It's just so crazy. It's so crazy. And who's reporting on this? The New York Post. Of course, the New York Post. He described himself with pronouns they, them on the platform DeviantArt, which became one of the biggest online hubs for furry art and furry community. A furry is someone who has an interest in anthropomorphized animal characters, often as sexual fetishes. A guy that they claimed has no online presence. But no, he's on this account and we know that he's a trans and furry lover. But he's dead, so we can't actually ask him that. Wow. Wow. I mean, it's so insulting. The FBI is so insulting at this point. To just drag whatever means necessary to change the direction of the narrative without actually doing a real proper investigation. Which, if they can't even do that, I'm sorry, but what is the point of the FBI? What is the point of these intelligence services? They can't even do the job correctly. But I guess they are actually doing the job correctly because in their description, it's always to penalize half the population. It's always to sow discourse, cause ruckus in America so that they become the overlords to take over us. So I guess they're doing their job correctly. It's just not the job of actually being investigative or having the ability to do a proper search of what happened that day. If it's just to sow more discourse into America and cause an uproar, civil war, just like we saw with Charlie Kirk, then mission accomplished. Mission accomplished. That somehow these furry lovers, these they them transgender people are capable of doing all this. Not that, other people in the past have done it previously without the trans movement. Just saying. What's next? Lee Harvey Oswald attached to squirrel loving. Like what else could they do? By the way, the FBI never reports on this. And we talked about this the moment that it happened, that moment we got information about this. So, Gaina Fauci says, I still can't get over the fact that Thomas Crooks just happened to be in a commercial for BlackRock. Remember this? So, a kid that has no online presence, was kind of a loner, who they claim now is a furry. They failed to mention, oh, by the way, he was in a commercial for BlackRock. He was in a commercial for one of the top investment firms on planet Earth, BlackRock, that owns 95.9% of all the assets on planet Earth. Yeah, I forgot to mention that. A guy who has no online presence whatsoever. Oh, that just happened to slip by the fact that Thomas Crooks was in this commercial. Take a watch.
My name is Brian DeLallo. I teach AP and Honors Economics in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. So,
let me just show it again.
My name is Brian DeLallo. I teach AP and Honors.
So, there's Thomas Crooks right there, posing as a student in this guy's classroom. For BlackRock. A man who they suspect is a furry now, who has no online presence, and Tucker Carlson, that guy who claims to be a journalist for actually doing journalism, he's a conspiracy nut for thinking that there's actual accounts of him. Well, why would he be in a commercial for BlackRock if he has no online presence? How does he get involved in central casting for a commercial for one of the ill-regarded global investment firms on Earth? Immoral, unethical investment firms on planet Earth.
Economics in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. Financial well-being to me is knowing that I can be free to do the things that I love to do. I hope.
So BlackRock helps manage pension plan assets that cover roughly half the United States public school teachers. So this is a commercial for you to surrender your pension to the most infamous, heinous asset investment firm on Earth. This is a surrender. Hey, you're going to surrender your pensions to BlackRock, who, by the way, BlackRock probably owns the pensions already. So this commercial is completely useless. But they're just telling you that. They're just telling you, by the way, BlackRock decides your pension plans. BlackRock.
When I retire someday, they say, that guy made this place a special place to come to school and gave as much as he could to help the community.
There you go. So, how does Thomas Matthew Crooks get into a commercial like that? The FBI says he has no online presence and he's a loner, but somehow gets onto this commercial. Tucker Carlson was able to find numerous amounts of accounts from YouTube and elsewhere of this man, and somehow he's able to climb the roof of the fairgrounds of Butler, Pennsylvania, and take a near shot at the president, a near lethal shot at the president, without law enforcement engaging on it, without Secret Service engaging on it, allowing for 8 shots to rain out before Secret Service actually caught the guy and shot him dead. And then immediately cremated the body and scrubbed down and hosed down the crime scene without further investigation. If there's nothing suspicious to that story, I got some vaccines I'd like to sell you. Because that is crazy. That is crazy. And it's even more crazy now because the guy who was almost killed in an assassination attempt is now the president, and even he's not even interested in this. He doesn't want anything to know about it. Which is very, very suspicious. Very suspicious. Why would Donald Trump not care about the guy who almost killed him? And not care about the 2 assassination attempts? Oh, because he's moved on from it? Because he doesn't care? Or maybe because the deep state told him exactly why that happened, and maybe he's involved somehow. We don't know for sure. But we can't ask questions about it because God forbid we end up like Tucker Carlson, that anti-Semite that is doing the job of journalism. How awful that is. So here's Scott McFarland. And he's going to show, so Kash Patel. Kash Patel is now the FBI director who's botching the investigation of Charlie Kirk, who is lying to you to cover up the Epstein files. Here he is, lying to you about Butler, Pennsylvania. There's a confusing moment at Kash Patel's hearing at the United States House. When asked if he'd commit to releasing information about Thomas Crooks, the Pennsylvania man who attempted to assassinate Trump last July, Patel responded, as soon as the trial's over. One problem. Crooks was killed on site in Butler, Pennsylvania. Crooks was killed on site and cremated shortly afterwards. But let's wait till the fictitious trial happens. Let's wait till his ghost appears on court. And that is Kash Patel's mealy-mouthed way to say that they're never going to release this information. So Kash Patel is on this. Kash Patel, Donald Trump, Pam Bondi, the whole Trump administration is even covering up this. We know the Biden administration did. And now here's Trump, the guy who almost got assassinated, and he's covering this up. Why? Why would you do that? Either someone has a hold on you, or you really didn't care if you died that day. like what is it? So watch Kash Patel
leadership.
here.
Would you please respond to these questions, and can you commit to doing that?
As soon as the trial's over.
Thank you very much. I will end with this. Under your leadership, would you please respond to these questions, and can you commit to doing that?
As soon as the trial's over.
As soon as the trial's over. As soon as the trial's over. Then I'll release the information. As soon as Thomas Crooks gets back from the grave, we reanimate him, then we'll put him into court setting, then I can release the information. So that's Kash Patel lying to you. That's Kash Patel gaslighting you, telling you that there's not going to be an investigation. They're not going to release the information. It's going to be buried under the rug, just like everything else, because they want to keep Americans in the dark. Even though this is a guy who took down your soon-to-be president, who's now the president right now, and he's not interested in this. So it is just baffling, ladies and gentlemen. It is baffling that they're trying to cover this up, that there's no investigation, that it takes people like Tucker Carlson, and kudos to him for digging up this information to release it. So we finally get some coverage. So we finally get some closure on who this guy is. Because again, they shot him on site. They buried his body. They cremated him instantly. They hosed down the crime scene. So we have no lead in this. No lead whatsoever. Just like the Charlie Kirk assassination, they paved over the crime scene. They won't release any information or footage. They're lying to you and gaslighting you about Tyler Robinson. And they're telling you that just to go along with it, that anyone that's saying anything different is a conspiracy theorist. And we've heard this story over and over again. This is them gaslighting you because they don't want Americans to know the real truth. And the real truth is that people like Kash Patel are not on your side. They're not there to protect you. They're there to be against you. These people are insidious. They are purposely designed. The whole system is designed to be against you. They don't inform you on anything. They don't actually investigate. They don't want you to know more information. They want to keep the peasants in the dark, so they're subservient to the overlords. The overlords are keeping of the information. Cash-Patel knows what happened that day. He's not revealing the information. They know what happened. Donald Trump knows what happened, but he's refusing to let his own supporters, the people within his base, know what happened that day. And frankly, I have suspicions why. And one of them being the fact that, surprisingly, Thomas Crooks was in that BlackRock commercial. So I think it's far beyond a one-person job. I think it's far beyond a lonesome guy who they're now announcing as a furry doing the act. That there was some coordination with this kid. That maybe he was cast as being this patsy so that they could take down Donald Trump. But now Donald Trump, who's working for the right people, I guess, allowed to be president. And he seems less than interested into finding out who exactly almost took his life, which is very suspicious. Well, we know that Cash-Patel and the Trump administration are just erroneous liars, just like the Biden administration, just like all administrations, which goes to prove you, electorally, none of these people are on your side. The system is designed to be against you. That's why you got to rail against the system, not just the certain individuals that the system props up.